Ooh, did you hear that too? It's new.
Good. I'm gonna mute myself.
Yeah, okay. So hi everyone. I'm doing just a formal thing so that people watching this video know what we're talking about. Hi everyone, this is a recording for the global community call of the OpenCovid19 Initiative. I don't remember which one it is. It's probably like around the 30s, 35,
33.
33, 33rd. Okay, perfect. And this is going to be a special one. We're going to discuss about what are going to be the next step for this community and this initiative as the pandemic is getting over almost. And the idea is to really take the best learning components of this experience and transform them into something more global for community-based science in general and community-based innovation. So I'm really much looking forward to sharing some of the ideas we've been working on and hearing also all your ideas yourselves and your feedbacks. So let's get to it. We had started actually the discussion before the recording, and Adrian, you were speaking about how existing projects could actually be pushed further and could be diversified. You were talking about the Corona Detective project that Rachel is also co-leading, and how it's been first applied to COVID and now it's being applied also to the flu. And it's exactly this. So that one part is obviously how do we push the existing project of this community as far as possible, but even the way that we have approached that problematic with the open diagnostic community within OpenCovid19 is, those technologies are getting mature so that they come to a point where they are able to be potentially distributed on the market. And so there are several steps in terms of regulatory steps to be authorized and to be also ready for manufacturing and distribution. But community-based projects are, if they're not represented by an official entity, it's mostly because it's like a forum, right? It's a bunch of people agreeing together to collaborate on a solution. So how do we bring them forward, and how do we bring those projects forward? And so we've been working on a special program to help those advanced projects get into the market. We called this this initiative the JOGL Fits initiative. We're not necessarily going to talk to focus on this because this is one of the examples, and there are some other things to talk about. But the point is those projects needs to be represented. The community needs to be represented. Someone needs to be able to make some contracts with manufacturer and in exchange represent the community so that the values of the community and the way the technology is going to be used by partners are going to be well represented. And if there are any resources, feedback, like funding, then this funding can be directly addressed to the community and be used to continue advancing the projects. So this is something that we are working on with the open diagnostic community, but it could be actually enlarged to not only diagnostics, as this is a more it's like a general modus operandi. So if you're interested, there is a Slack channel called JOGL Fits on the OpenCovid19 Slack, and so there will be a specific page also on the JOGL platform where you'll be able to look at the different kind of activities we are working on. Okay, let me actually take the slides because we've prepared actually a bunch of slides. All right. Here. All right. All right. So it's, I guess, just before we get into the big subject, just wanted to make a small reminder that we have a current challenge going on with Doctors Without Borders and we are helping them improve one of their open source tools to fight antimicrobial resistance, especially in low-income countries. So if you're a microbiologist and you're listening to this, and you are capacity to realize antibiotic susceptibility tests at your lab, you can help. And the MSF Foundation is going to reimburse all your consumables, so you don't have to be concerned about that. You can go directly on JOGL and look at the challenge. If you're able to participate, we'll be extremely grateful. The other news is that in a month from now, a new JOGL is coming up, a new version of the platform that we've been working on for quite some time, with a new homepage, a new onboarding process, and especially what we've been teasing for quite some time, the possibility for communities to have their own space within JOGL. And that's going to be quite a huge transformation, not only in terms of technology for the platform, but also in terms of animation and the way JOGL is going to grow from there. Because the point is, JOGL is completely agnostic. We want to be as neutral as possible in being able to host also external communities, so that we can co-evolve basically together and have more opportunities. And we're going to touch that subject of co-evolving with the future of OpenCovid19 and how we are able actually to provide more opportunities to those community initiatives, like what has been going on with OpenCovid19. The other big news is that as we are transitioning from being fully focused on OpenCovid19 to being more generalized, focused, the OpenCovid Slack is going to be converted into a more general JOGL community Slack. It makes sense. All the channels will be conserved. So there is no changes actually for however you use currently the Slack. It's just that Slack channels will be added for other type of programs or projects, as it's a good add-on to the current JOGL platform. So this is going to happen in June, in the next 2 or 3 weeks, and so it will be a smooth transition where we'll explain everything how it's going to go. Yeah, and then talking about the community initiatives. This is the way that we currently see things, but this is something we would like to discuss with you. The way we see things is OpenCovid19 has been an amazing community initiative, and it has grown at a size that we were not expecting at all. And the quality of the work that this community has provided and the solution that it has designed and created, the content that has been created also, is really at the same level as any other kind of higher institution. It's really incredible, and people are seeing this, like normal institutions and foundations that are normally only funding traditional science and or corporate innovation. So we've put a pin, like a big pin on the map for community-based science innovation here. So we can really be proud of ourselves here. The thing is, this community now has many branches. And we have people that are really working together around, for example, diagnostic technology, open source diagnostic technologies, people working also on the basic equipment for let's say biotechnology in general, or health access. We have also a lot of hardware projects that were awarded also in the last rounds. And so they are touching different problems, different thematics, different technologies, different kind of sciences, and so those branches are each targeting different aims somehow, but which are all complementary at the end, obviously. But so the way we've been approaching the OpenCovid19 is we got a bunch of grants from foundations like the AXA Research Fund, and we're giving those grants indifferently to the thematics or the branches. It's like if you're walking around COVID, you can get access to this. The point would be that the transition is, what if we create community initiatives that are more centered around a specific like problematic, let's say open diagnostics, for example, creating open source diagnostics and diversifying the applications or the capacity building. This is just an example among others, but and finding ways to sustain those communities where the point is through what we are currently doing, so convincing foundations to sustain and support such a community, but also having external partners and communities joining in and being able to trust the collective intelligence of the community. That's what we've done with the macro granting and the open peer reviewing, and it has worked beautifully. In fact, it was an experiment at first, and we were very surprised by how like the choices that the community has made were the right choices every time. So it's an interesting alternative for doing due diligence. So far, due diligence was always done in a very top-down manner. And it was really more about you as a project, are you able to, to get on top of the pack yourself? And so it was more a race than a collaboration with other initiatives. But if the community itself is now responsible of the due diligence and deciding, okay, what are the best initiatives among my community, who actually deserve to be supported right now, and because there are not only one opportunity, there are several ones. Then you get to decide, and there is no top-down decision there, especially not from JOGL. And so it's been working beautifully, and we could see this as a true alternative to the classical crowdfunding approach for science project, innovation project, because look at it, like creating a crowdfunding campaign is hard. And it requires you to have a certain kind of skills, which is not science or innovation related, and it's really going to be more about your more about your ability to be more visible than others, but it's not going to be related to the quality of your project instead. Like, so it's very hard. Imagine you want to donate to a project. Like, how are you able to decide if the project is going to be good or not? You have to do your own due diligence, but you're not an expert. So why are you going to trust yourself to decide actually if the project is going to be worth it or not? So here, the idea is to reverse the logic where you will not donate to a specific project, you will donate to a community. You donate, let's say, if you have the open diagnostic community, so you have those bunch of people and those active projects, and they have these amazing dynamics, and so you are able to provide support to a community who is able to do the due diligence themselves in a way where there is no conflict of interest, because one voice, every voice is equivalent somehow, if you want, as long as you review things accordingly. So it's and we could imagine doing this for any kind of thematic, so reproducing basically what we've been doing with OpenCovid19 to any kind of subject, and so it could be about antimicrobial resistance. It could be about I know, for example, that there is a big subject and Rob, you've been working on that about oxygen fabrication, concentrator, and so it's
that was an incredible last week public convention. That was an incredible seminar, by the way.
Yeah,
Rob.
absolutely. And so how do we somehow create and the ability for different communities to come together and all self-organize around problematics, while retaining also their identity, but at the end, where the point is not trying to fight for the funding, it's really about, okay, we're part of this community initiative, let's say about open diagnostics. I'm going to look, if I find opportunities, I'm going to bring those opportunities to the global community. And so it's way worse for the funders or the partner to help a whole community than a single project or a single person. And it's going to bring a sort of much more, like the critical mass is going to be much more enormous. It's going to bring also much more opportunities in general for the active members of the communities also.
So yeah, so there's JOGL Fits, and then recently we collaborated with a couple of people from Ghana and Tanzania, and we applied for a grant together, and we made like a sort of, I guess what we're thinking this could be, and I guess we want to talk about that in a brainstorm from everyone.
Yeah, so this is somehow like the intuition we have, and that we'd like to see being reproduced within JOGL, and that JOGL would like to support as a neutral institution for these communities to exist. You could almost see it as, I don't know if it's the right parallel or metaphor, but if you go to Reddit, you could even see like each community being like a radio channel. It's like nobody owns the channel. Nobody owns nobody wouldn't own the problematic. But this community is able to exist because Reddit is here to provide the framework. Imagine that in addition, there will be a mechanisms to provide resources, to these communities, and it's the community deciding to upvote or downvote, the right actions to be taken. But so yeah, this is the way we potentially foresee us going. But again, we cannot do it without you. So it's if it doesn't speak to you, this probably we won't do it. So and in fact, you could have like even better ideas than ourselves. So we are all ears.
I'm gonna make a Google Doc and record like meeting notes of this, so we know everyone's ideas, and of course we've got the video itself as well. But should we go through the bullet points or something, or ask a general question?
Who would like to react?
I think the most important thing for us to keep in mind is that we want to do real open science. And even if there's some sort of product made in the end, there should be this sort of open science documentation and sharing not just the sort of knowledge, but the know-how. And whatever we do, I think that it's really important that we keep that in mind, even if I know everybody needs to have a salary and things like that.
Exactly, absolutely. And in fact, it's not impossible in the foreseeable future that we should be able to even provide fellowships. As the amount of funding, if we're able to grab more funding and by convincing more partners, then the amount of funding we're able to deliver is going to increase, and then it could be converted into true fellowships for enabling someone to work full-time, on the project for 6 months, a year, even longer potentially, but it's still being decided by the communities through open peer reviewing. I think Rob, you want to take the lead there.
So I have a number of things to say, and I may not hear very well, so I may have made some mistakes. Is this a call for open brainstorming comments on what you've presented?
Yeah, it's to have like an open discussion, because those are not fixed decisions at all. Those are proposals. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to try to be very compressed in my statement, but I have a lot to say. So first of all, I want to thank JOGL for pioneering what I think is exactly the right thing first, okay, which is you did peer-reviewed microgrants. And that's very, very important. Like when you're starting these things, the microgrants for the projects that have not yet demonstrated enough success to get granting any other way, I just can't say enough about how valuable those microgrants are. Okay, so I think you've done exactly the right thing. What I'm going to say now is how you can grow from that and not necessarily change that. Okay, I agree with Rachel. I personally recommend that we support profits, but not monopolies. So, you know, we're open. If people want to make money, we hope people make money from JOGL projects, but they don't get to take what they've done and keep it from other people, which I'm merely stating what Rachel said again. Now, I may be speaking for my own weaknesses and the weaknesses in the sort of American community of helpful engineering and public invention. I think there is a strong maker culture that produces prototypes. Like I think the hardware teams that do things know how to make prototypes, but they don't know how to make what I would call small run, high quality test. Like most teams don't know how to make 20 of something and get those to the next level of marketing, right? And then the measuring the impact of those things is not very well explored yet. Okay, so I think I don't think JOGL needs to teach people how to build prototypes, but they may need to say, okay, we had microgrants for prototypes. Now, some of those projects are worth making, you know, let's say putting a larger amount of money into $15,000 to make 15 prototypes or to carry the program forward to a larger classroom, or not every device, not every project makes a hardware device, right? I don't see that as an established culture yet. Like people just don't know how to do it. And if JOGL were to, for maybe create an initiative around that, right? Like the next step beyond prototyping to carry things into the field. That's where a larger organization like JOGL that has more money and also has a large number of volunteers could potentially help in a way that no one else is doing. And then, you know, finally, I'll have two more things to say. So I think maybe JOGL is doing this. Apparently you guys are getting grants. Measuring the impact of the work that has already been done is always a struggle, but it's extremely important, right? And part of the problem is if you do what is often done, at least in the United States, like you make a nice prototype, it's a first step, but it doesn't have much impact until you do the next step, right? So I think large organizations like Helpful Engineering, which I'm on the board of, and Public Invention, which is a small organization, and JOGL can help by trying to do the small run development and show the impact of that. Okay. And then finally, I'd like to leave you with another thought. And I know this is very ambitious. So you guys have a resource wanted channel and skills needed channel. I think that's extremely valuable. I think right now, projects are all still siloed. Like it's almost as if they're local, not geographically local, but maybe local to within hacker communities that are global in some way. It would, right now, it would be too much to ask that there be like a standing army of 25 engineers and scientists ready to work on whatever JOGL says is the most important thing to do. Like that would be too expensive. Like even if it were purely volunteer, no one's going to sit around and wait for you to tell them what to do. They're going to work on a project. But I would like to believe that 5 or 10 years from now, you could do what you did with your peer-reviewed open process, and there would be some people who are not the founders or originators of projects. They'll be like, well, I'm ready to work on whatever the community thinks is the most important thing. And then like what happened here was someone won a grant. They got a few $1,000s. Excellent. That's really important. But if in doing that, they could also say, and I got a computer programmer and a virologist and electrical engineer, then it'd be like, you know, kapow, like all of a sudden I have 3 times the power that I had starting out.
That's what happened in the first few weeks of helpful engineering. The few projects were selected, and then suddenly loads of people went into these highlighted projects, and it worked quite well, at least for starting projects up. That's such a good point.
Yes, I wish helpful engineering were still accomplishing that. I think, you know, at the beginning of last year, there were a lot of people who were in that mode, right? And maybe I was doing something different. Maybe helpful engineering served that purpose for a brief period in time. I don't think we're doing it today, but I'm trying to make that happen. But you know, I think JOGL and helpful engineering could think about moving in that direction, and the way to do that is to build up credibility. Which I think you guys have already done a good job of, right? Like if you have a peer-reviewed process, you give micro grants to projects, and they sometimes succeed. Not every project needs to succeed, right? But they succeed enough that it starts to have credibility. Then there could start to be people who are different than the people who founded a project, who are dedicated to a particular project, but they're just like, I want to work on this, and they boost the projects which the community has decided are important. I don't know how to accomplish that, but I stand behind JOGL attempting to accomplish that.
Like a volunteer engineer / scientist program where you take them and deliberately push them into good projects. Right,
like you're already pushing small amounts of money into projects. Mm-hmm. in a transparent, open way. That's very, very important. That's very good. But if you could also do that with important skills at a level of volunteering, which would be, you know, more than just a mentorship.
Yeah.
Right. That would be extremely important as well.
Yeah. I have to say, thank you so much, Rob. It's so much valuable feedback there, and great ideas. I'm associating myself 100% with what you just said, I totally think also that we should really work closer together with helpful engineering and public laboratory, because we have so many common issues that we can solve together better. I agree with you that so far what has been missing mostly in community settings is the ability to have an evaluation framework that guarantee qualities. So we are going to focus on that a lot. We're going to grow this tool. We are going to make it better and more generalized. And this is also part of the discussion here that we're having is how do we make this more accessible to more initiatives? Because we've been animating it ourselves for OpenCovid19. But tomorrow, let's say that with public laboratory and helpful engineering, you'd like actually to create a community benefiting from this evaluation framework. You can just create your own space on JOGL with a specific thematic. And then, but how do we create the right flow where, the community doesn't requires JOGL to be involved in a sense. It's like basically my goal is to make JOGL just like a transparent support, but we shouldn't taint anything. So the way so it's, and if we're able to say, okay, this package here, which is peer-reviewed. You know, we have experts there. We have, okay, too many things in my head. But if we were to focus on one of your point, it's how do we get more expert level people that are able to really work full time, if not at least part time, you know, on a project on based on needs. This is something that I see also arriving in the foreseeable future, as we will be able to plug in existing organizations like academic laboratories. I'm already actually discussing with such academic laboratory institutions so that all their young researchers are able actually to be also present on the JOGL platform. And so these kind of interactions are super necessary because they benefit from a full-time salary to work on research or innovation projects. So they're able actually also to jump in if necessary. The other point is, as we increase our legitimacy and our reputation, I absolutely agree with you, Rob, here, is we'll be able to convince more and more institutions to invest in those community initiatives. And then the amount of funding we'll have to put at the disposal of the communities will be enough not only to fund microgrants, but also to fund fellowships. Like if you're a freelancer expert, you know, and you're an engineer or a scientist, you know, even a designer, whatever, a developer, and you know that you'll be able actually to join a project who just got either to co-develop the project and get actually, if it's selected, to get actually a full-time job or part-time job for 6 months or a year, for example. Or just being actually selected for a project that has already been funded. But so this is not short term because the amount of funding necessary for this is much higher. But I would say like this is definitely something that could happen, you know, in 2 or 3 years if things go well. Because there is no reason why you know, big foundations will not want actually to go have a try at you know, community-based innovation in science. So okay, we're going to trust the open peer reviewing process to select the best initiative and best prototyping, and we're going to select the best project, and we're going to help them in our institutional pipelines to get there and have a true impact on the field. But yeah, it's a bit reinventing the wheel somehow in a sense, but it's like a different type of wheel. It's like we're redesigning the prototyping, you know, the R&D. Now we have to redefine how to bring those community-based projects into the market while guaranteeing also the ethics also that is behind the community. So it's I think we are definitely on the right path to achieve that, because as we said, we have a good reputation. Like when we talk about JOGL and when we show and what the community has been doing, people don't basically think that those are just people playing around and you know, it's, you know, let them play. No, they're actually seeing the JOGL community as a very capable community and model to follow. It's funny because most of the time when I interact with potential partners, they want to participate, but there is a culture shock. And so at the individual level, you have a lot of enthusiasm, but then the time it takes to convert the institution is much longer. So it's a long process, and you know, it's a cultural transformation that we're going to get into in the next decade. You know, in 10 years from now, it will be normal probably, and there will be many projects being started this way. It's like you don't have to be you know, to find a position in academia necessary to go full time on research or to start actually innovative project. It's yeah. So
maybe we could take I mean, so Rob's example then was just in the short term, you can take recognition and accomplishment as something to motivate people, and I think that's definitely true, especially in very early academia and university. And maybe if we try and connect with universities more, or schools more, especially universities actually, then we might be able to funnel if we had a community manager, for example, whose entire job was to funnel university students into well reviewed projects, then we might be able to suddenly start getting things going. Okay, Rob.
So I do think there's some room there for that, because I have some personal experience with that, which of course is in the United States. I've been working with Rice University, and for a long time I had this big list of ideas that no one paid any attention to. But then I realized professors at schools that have what you might call humanitarian engineering programs are really hungry for real world problems. And so I think they enjoy working with me because I have a palette of problems that you can choose from. So even though I don't bring them any money or any resources, like they need the problems. And JOGL is a community of people that are close to problems, whereas a university is a community of very smart people who tend to be far removed from some kinds of problems. They're very familiar with other kinds of problems that they're motivated to solve, but they're not necessarily connected to the global South or low middle income communities and that kind of thing. And so the trade that you can offer them is you can say, look, we can give you really interesting projects where a researcher can make a lot of progress and get a publication rather quickly, in exchange for technical assistance, which is in short supply within our community in some ways. I think that's something that some universities will appreciate.
Definitely, yeah. And so I guess I don't know if anyone else would like to react on this part of the discussion. I would say like the next step would be to discuss where should we start? Like if we were to create some of those community initiatives. There is one we are currently working on, which is an Open Diagnostic Community Initiative. And I've been already working on bringing funding for this specific community initiative. But for example, like what kind of subject would we like to attack first that would matter to the community? What do we want to improve first? Yeah, Ishan, you'd like to speak?
Yeah. So just like, I guess my suggestion for that, like what you're speaking about. So our project just got accepted for an accelerator that's meant for younger, younger people, I guess, with entrepreneurial ideas. And one of the things that I really like that they did that I think maybe JOGL can do is kind of, they connect us with mentors, and they also connect us with resources to kind of, accelerate our project, because I feel like money is really useful but you need to have a way to spend the money, right? So like for us specifically, one of the things, like the reason we wanted money is so that we can conduct more research in like universities and things like that. But getting into universities has been an even bigger struggle, to be honest, even though we have working technology that we can test. So I think maybe one of the things that JOGL, I think, can do isn't even necessarily monetary related, but it seems like a lot of the members of the community are very involved in different universities, like Rice University. I saw like UPenn. And so there's a lot of different communities that they're involved in that can be a resource. So JOGL can function more of like an incubator that gives people money and then helps them develop their idea with like a more structured curriculum, rather than just like, here's like a great job, continue to do what you're intending to do with it. Because I think for like micro grants, they're with projects that are in an earlier stage that could definitely use some guidance if they want it. So yeah, I guess that's just kind of my perspective.
That's a very good point. Being able to identify like good quality resources that people can that are not necessarily free to use, but that are going to be useful because it's been tested before by other members of the community is definitely valuable. I agree. One thing that we would like to implement in the near future on the platform is right now we have this little, it's kind of like hidden, it's what we call resources on the platform. And you can create a small card for a machine or a piece of equipment and stuff like that. But it feels like a lot of the time, being able to find the right piece of equipment or the right piece of resource that you have at your own disposal because you're in your own lab, or you have actually, I don't know, access to other kind of resources in your organizations. Even time, expertise, you want this to be shared. Like, how do you find those resources easily? Right now, we connect people, or at least we try to connect people through needs. But we haven't done the reverse, where people get to express what they can share, what they have at their disposal, and so that other people can find those resources more easily.
I guess kind of the working group or community initiative ideas was that we can help create groups of projects or people that want to do similar things. So maybe some people are struggling to write a paper and there's someone who's very good at writing papers in that working group. Or if someone's working on open research or open science, but they want to get their product on the market or into the hands of someone who can actually make it, then there might be another person who is further along the path and can help them, and vice versa. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to recreate what happened at the start of OpenCovid19, where these groups were created. And we're thinking about what kind of groups do we want to create? How should we make the groups? That kind of thing as well. Yeah. How do we make the groups? And what groups should we make?
And I would say connected to this is a more general question. So far, JOGL is a non-profit organization based in Paris, even though our team is distributed in many countries, and our community is even more international. But we started very small, and so we are. The way we function is also very internal, because we had a simple vision we wanted to try, but now that we have also made a proof of concept, we would like actually also to have the community interface way more with the way JOGL is going to evolve, and so it's an open question where what makes JOGL, what makes JOGL actually useful today, I think, is provide stability to the community, to the communities. Communities are great. They're extremely smart, very agile, but they're very unstable. And they die very fast. But if we find ways to provide that structure, a framework that stabilize them, that's when we are able actually to get way more energy and much more impact on the long term. And so the question is how, as JOGL is going to evolve closer to the community in general and the community needs, how do we, it's an open discussion. We're not going to have any specific answers, but how would you actually see if any of you actually are here today, seeing yourself potentially getting a bit more involved in the evolution of JOGL? So far we've been trying to get feedback, from the community about how we should organize things like what we do today, but how could we somehow institutionalize this and in a way where we don't go to a point where the whole governance of JOGL is community-based, because then that's also instability that we probably don't want for the whole institution. It's really an open question. And I don't know if you want to bring in any ideas here. It's complex, obviously.
I mean, I'll just say, yeah, it's highly desirable, but also fraught with peril in that, you know, the more you spread out, the less control you might have unless you build it really carefully, that it stays on the mission that you want JOGL to represent.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you and I have had this conversation about, you know, if we started a branch in America, like, would we have like people from the original JOGL on the board to try and kind of spread it out somehow and give you some authority over, and how can we, you know, how can we ensure that we stay connected and on mission? But the realities of funding, as you've said, are such that sometimes it's very difficult for an organization based in France to get a grant from America. And I mean, America, I believe, is the most philanthropic nation on earth. I mean, and boy, do we have a lot of people with disposable income that we can get a piece of, you know. I mean, so there has to be some mechanism for that. And the other thing is that, you know, it just makes things easier if you have people that are innovating in this country, rather than having, you know, a grant go outside of this country, bounce through a Parisian JOGL, and then bounce back to the United States with all the currency transactions and stuff. I know you had some issues with that in the beginning with the micro grants. So
It's still actually an issue.
and it has to be an organization, otherwise nobody wants to fund something that they think is a loose collection of people without anyone who will take responsibility for handling the money. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you going to say?
No, it's no, I was saying that funding distribution is still an issue, as there are so much fees. It's incredible. And especially when we have to send money in Africa, for example, it's crazy. So this is definitely something where alternative payment system like crypto monies, for example, could be, you know, interesting. But I don't want us to enter this realm. And what you just said, Ellen, is very important. We have a lot of experience in community building and governance. The point is this. The way, at least when I co-founded JOGL, I wanted to see JOGL evolving is to be a tool for everyone to use, like we are as neutral and you know, transparent as possible, and that's why this community initiative approach for me works very well, because the communities are being creative on what they want to work on, and we are just here to support them. It's like so it's a good equilibrium where we provide the stability of the infrastructure on which the community can function. And so yeah, the thing is there are so many things to be done that it's easy actually to get very distracted. What sounds like important to me, at least right now, is that, like, what would you see actually as, and no, Robert, you've been expressing yourself on those points very well, like, but maybe I'd like to see also, Catherine, you have actually asked to speak. I'm just going to give you the microphone in a minute. Like, what others see as a priority when it comes to the question that we've been discussing. Catherine, do you want to speak up?
You guys hear me? Yeah, nice. Yeah, actually, it's a little off topic now. It's just something that slipped my mind. So I try to think about how other initiatives or organizations organize themselves. And one thing that comes into my mind is this. You can see it with a global bio summit, or you can see it also with other institutions. I know that they have like the central gathering at some point where they do a lot of show and tell what happened, like projects inside of the community, and a lot of fun stuff as well, you know, like good music, good movies, something like this, to have this human aspect of connection as well. And also like some governmental yeah trails or something like this. So this is something you can implement actually, like in a more, like, I don't know, JOGL festival or something. Yeah, just like a
Yeah.
thought.
Being able to organize like a full-fledged.
Don't forget the parties.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't even know what a party is anymore.
Yeah, we have to learn that together.
So that would be fantastic. And if we can aim for that, to have also being able to bring physically people together. Yeah. So this is something we could create a work group around that, but it could be a virtual, absolutely, Adrian. It could be a virtual geography. Like maybe we should organize, like if we are truly remote, we should create like the biggest online party and just use whatever exciting tools we have at our disposal for, you know, creating online parties. Yeah, I mean, maybe we should really embrace the fact that we are fully distributed.
As part of it, I thought Alan's point on having a decentralized JOGL in different countries to make funding more easy and allow teams to use JOGL as an entity to fund themselves with was quite, well, not, that wasn't what she said, just more like a JOGL US was quite interesting. Talking about that, so is that something that we've thought about doing, to create JOGL in different places that people maybe they can use the JOGL entity? Or
it's something I've been exploring, and that's something we've been discussing with Ellen, among others, and because we have, like as Ellen said, there are a lot of opportunities in the US where the culture is of how to fund research innovation is much more private oriented. So there, in Europe, you don't have that many foundations funding research innovation compared to the US. So so this scarcity, like the fact that we actually succeed in doing it in Europe, is already pretty big, I would say. So it means that we should probably also succeed in the US. Yeah,
I think it'd be really important also with the Philippines. I mean, it's sad that you can never make it to these meetings, honestly. But there's a Philippines group that are doing nanopore sequencing of COVID-19.
yeah.
And to have a global South, or maybe call it global South JOGL working group would be quite good.
We've been having the JOGL Africa initiative for some time, where we have a dedicated team. Gameli is leading this at JOGL, where we're trying to create more partnerships and relationships with African communities and organizations. And having local chapters is important. That's the point. It's the same with South America. It's being able to create more, you know, to be closer to the local organizations and local communities is really important. And if it makes it easier to organize local programs, local challenges, or local activities in general, and also to be used as a tool for funding transfer, yeah, that would make sense if we go that direction. Adrian?
Yeah, so I was thinking that there's a fine balance between centralization and decentralization, and in a way we like to be decentralized, but if it's necessary for, especially for technical reasons, for instance, transfer of funds or donations and stuff like that, we don't have to create a JOGL in United States, but we can maybe able to create a organization that has some kind of status, which is a branch of JOGL, which can actually accommodate some of these, I guess, financial transactions and grants and stuff like that. So I think that's a great idea. At the same time, I have absolutely no problem working with JOGL in France or with JOGL in another place. I think the JOGL in France should still stay as the I guess the head office or the and not try to splinter this into many groups, because that's the cohesion and the internationalist part of it is very essential too. So we can maybe kind of walk through those.
It's the institutional part, which needs to be extremely stable, and then there is the international community at which we are at the service of, and so yeah, the main motives for creating a JOGL in like a 501c3 in the US is purely for being able to reach out to American foundations and institutions and have it more easily done, like to be able to provide funding to at least North America based project more easily also.
Yeah, I'm thinking, for instance, banks have actually they are incorporated in every country because of the financial aspect, but you still talk about Hong Kong Bank or
right.
HSBC or something like that, which is also so international, global, one name, one clear.
Yeah. The other motivation was when we are working on FITS, JOGL FITS, this program for enabling like translation of existing advanced technologies developed by the community into real product on the markets, and to go through those regulatory steps. Europe and the US are very different, especially when we talk about health-rated products. So having also a US-based entity capable of representing some of those projects to go through the FDA, for example, that was one of the motivations. But I think this is also definitely something that we should talk about with with public laboratory and helpful engineering. You are mostly US based, right, Rob? Am I wrong?
Public invention is US based, and helpful engineering is also US based.
Okay, so there is definitely here a point of collaboration, I guess. Yeah, we should create like a special brainstorming session just for helpful engineering, public laboratory, and JOGL to come together.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited for the future anyway. I know that we come up with something cool, and the thing that is going to happen in the next few weeks, though, and that I would love seeing that you're also part of other communities, is see how we can create already a movement where some of your communities are able actually to create, like, for example, a space on the JOGL platform, and we can start working together on creating those dynamics, so that, for example, you can implement the same kind of evaluation framework for your own community, the same kind of micro granting system, etc. So that's something would be quite fantastic, and I don't know if that's something that you will see possible in the foreseeable future, if that's something your communities will be interested in. We are actually now already like the space feature in the JOGL platform is in beta mode, and so it's if you want, we can just have a private discussion so that we can make a small demo and we can actually discover how to use it. The official launch is going to be end of June, beginning of July. So it could be like a nice celebration, or say, okay, hey, you know, we are creating this, you know, global community initiatives, and we are all joining hands in order to push for a bigger agenda for open science and open technology. That would be quite amazing.
Yeah, there are already lots of projects from, I mean, there's a few projects from Helpful on the platform already, so giving them a label around them, like a box to say these are helpful projects, could be helpful, so that you know it's from Helpful. The same with Public Convention, I suppose. And then that way you sort of see where the organizations lie and that they are in the same thing. To call it a space, it's called a space. Why not? I think Adrian wants to talk.
Adrian, do you want to speak? You have your hand, or is it just?
Okay.
That's pretty much it. I don't want to take too much time. We've been there for an hour already. It's been amazing. Thank you so much for your feedbacks. But it's I would like this discussion to go further. I think we're going to create a channel on the Slack. Maybe we're going to call it like the future of OC19, where we can, you know, continue this discussion and exchange on this. In the month of June, as I was saying, we're going to put in place so some of the first you know, spaces. iGEM is one of them, by the way. So especially the After iGEM community and the new league of iGEM is going to be there on the on JOGL. Especially, it's a league dedicated to Central and South America, so it's going to be quite interesting to see.
Do you think we could push iGEM people onto some of the? I mean, iGEM is huge and with lots of enthusiastic university people, and I guess they kind of almost follow the model perfectly of taking people from universities to work on real problems, but they couldn't do it because they didn't have enough time. But if they have an existing team that's already doing something and they cycle in and out, there is a bit of problem with iGEM. It's incredible, but because it's a short-lived program, not much in the end is done apart from very occasionally. But if you had existing teams, then we managed to connect iGEM. I had a program of connecting iGEM teams with actual projects. That would be really cool if we could do that potentially.
Yeah.
To expand on Rob's and connect was your point.
Speaking about the iGEM there, I know for sure there are lots of people that are interested in participating in iGEM. However, iGEM is a very expensive program, okay? And everybody who goes to the professor, most people will say, no, I cannot do this for you because it's too expensive and I don't get the grants. If we could get some of these people that are interested in participating in iGEM, but they cannot because of the lack of funds. I'm not talking about providing them funds, but attracting to JOGL into an established project. It might be a very good
absolutely. That's what we are discussing with iGEM. They're coming to JOGL so that the project that are being developed first by iGEMers, they can actually continue after the iGEM season. And also, the new league of iGEM is actually specifically designed for people who don't have enough resources to participate in the full-fledged iGEM. So it's going to be much cheaper, much shorter, more design-oriented. You should definitely check it out because they are prototyping it this time in Central and South America, but they are going to make it, you know, in more region of the world next year. And in fact, as the iGEM community is going to come in, they're going to be like amazing experts also on biotech in general. So they'll be able to help on so many levels. So that's going to be quite amazing also. A lot of us here have done iGEM in the past. We have been touching iGEM in some ways. So, but yeah. I see many people have to jump off, and I apologize, we went a little bit overboard. But thank you so much again for the feedbacks, for the discussions. This is just the beginning of this transition phase, and so we are going to create that Slack channel so that everyone can, you know, we can continue this discussion there. But yeah, and if anyone would like to have a go at this new JOGL space feature, let us know, because we have amazing organizations coming in, and would love to have some organizations and communities that are already connected to us being there. That would be even more awesome.
I think there's a couple of projects that want to update potentially. I just saw on the slides as well. Cool.
Oh, right. Yes. Let's do that. Let's hear. If you want to go, you can go. We're going to listen to a few updates very fast. No, we should do that next time. Yes. Okay. Let's do that next time.
Look at the slides.
It's true.
I put things in, but you know, it's.
Yeah. Let's do that next time.
David hasn't on Proteo Espresso. It's especially more. There were updates from Proteo Espresso. If you want to listen to them, if you can't make it next time.
I think he's going to be fine. Today, David is kind of sick, actually. He just got a vaccine yesterday, and he told me he barely crawled out of the bed. So he's going to be fine to present it next time. No problem.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Alain. The thing is, I'm not activating video because I look awful, but I could do the presentation in case anyone is interested, but I hope we can do that next time better.
Yeah, let's postpone it. Let's postpone it. All right.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much, everyone. And we talk next time in 2 weeks. At least in the meantime, we're on the Slack channel. All right. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.